CF gets you every time. Hi guys, I'm Larry Bryan. Welcome to another video. So this is going to be about my CF story. You guys might be familiar with, I've already done a CF story a while back, but that was when I first started my channel, and it's 40 minutes long. So who wants to watch a 40-minute long YouTube video, right? So I'm going to try to condense my story, not ramble on as much, and that way you guys be more interested. So let's go ahead and get started. So I was born with CF, and I was diagnosed about 6 weeks old. Now the way they found out I had CF was I was throwing up all my food. I was born at about 6 pounds, and I think I was down to about 4 pounds or so by the 6 weeks, and I was crying all the time. So I was born in a really small town in Missouri, and I had to be sent to another hospital so they could figure out I had CF and said, hey, you're a salty kid. So that's how I found out. So growing up with CF, I don't have any of the GI issues, by the way. Mine's all my lungs, and now that I'm older, it's also my sinuses. And I'm almost 26 years old now, and I have the double delta F508 mutation. Yay or combi, right? So, I was growing up and I was perfectly fine. I was normal, I guess you'd say. I did my airway clearance each day. I did my inhaled antibiotics, my albuterol, my inhalers, and I took enzymes with all my food. But besides that, I was never hospitalized, not one time. And I didn't tell any of my friends. So that gives you a hint about, how, I guess, healthy you'd say I was growing up, because I could easily hide it from my friends. And I'll touch on another video on why I didn't tell my friends. But yeah, my mom raised me to be really optimistic, and it's kind of one of those things where, we could do anything. We weren't going to let anything hold us back. And luckily that's how I am today. But yeah, I just didn't let it bother me. I didn't let it get to me, and I didn't share it with the world. So I played sports growing up. I played basketball, I played baseball, lacrosse. I even skateboarded for 5 years, and at the end of high school, I got into bodybuilding. So I was very active. I think that really played a huge role in why I was so healthy growing up. But once I went to college, all of this changed. So I went away to college. I went 2 hours away from home. I was a typical 18-year-old guy. I didn't want to be trapped up in my parents' house going to college. So I went to college for pre-law and finance, and everything was great, except I did not get as much sleep as I did at home. I was staying up all night meeting people in the dorm rooms and things like that. I did have to study, or I learned how to study in college, where I didn't have to study in high school. That was a huge pain in the butt. Also, I didn't eat nearly as well. When I was at home in high school, I was getting my mom's meals that she was cooking. Our cafeteria lunch was amazing. It was such a good cafeteria. I wish I could go back. But it was good food. And in college, I was eating dining hall food. I barely ate in my dorm room. And then on top of that, I'm sure I slacked on some treatments some because I was away from home. And I was healthy growing up, so I didn't think treatments was that big of a deal. So apparently they were a big deal. And all that came into play because my second semester of freshman year, I got sick in February. I got chills. I got chills, I got fevers, like 103 every single day. I was coughing up a bunch of stuff. I had to, stop on the way to class and catch my breath. The typical, CF thing, which I didn't know what was happening. I had never been sick in my life. I never missed a day of school, so what was going on? So I tried to justify everything. I said, I'm not working out as much, so therefore I'm losing weight. I'm losing weight, and that's causing me to have chills because I'm not having, any warmth in my body. Stupid justifications that I was making. But anyway, I called my doctor 2 hours away back home. I said, hey, this is what's going on. Gave me antibiotics over the phone, said, you've never been sick, you're going to be fine, you're going to get over it, no big deal. Well, it's true. I felt great for 2 weeks. Well, after that 2 weeks, a week or two later, everything came back. Well, I said, hey, I've already had antibiotics. What else could it be, So then in June, I went away on vacation with my parents, my family, and we went to Florida, and I was on the beach in sweatpants and a hoodie, and I was still freezing. They said, Brian, this is not okay. So we went back home to St. Louis, Missouri, and I went to my physician who sent me to the ER and said, you have pneumonia in your lungs. So I went from 90% lung function when I went to college to 32% lung function. That is a major drop, rapid drop if you guys are familiar with CF. Just insane. And unfortunately, that kind of set the precedent for how the next 5 years were going to go. So I recovered from that hospital. That was my first hospitalization. I recovered my lungs back up to 55% once I left that hospitalization for a 3-week stay. So I went back to college. I said, you know, I guess this is something CFers go through. I'm going to be fine. Went back to college, and all of a sudden, I was sick again. So this time, I got in touch with the CF clinic down there in my college town, and yeah, I was stupid enough to not do that the first time. But got in touch with those guys, and they helped me out a lot, and they gave me oral antibiotics, and oral antibiotics were great, and we were trying different ones, and things were going great. I'd feel better in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Well, as time went on throughout that sophomore year, oral antibiotics started not to work anymore. I'd take them for 10 to 14 days, I still feel like crap. So that's when I started getting admitted more. So every 2-3 months throughout into my sophomore year, I was being admitted in the hospital for, you know, hospitalizations anywhere from 10 days to 14 days. I was the stubborn patient, by the way. They would tell me, hey, Brian, you know it's going to be a 14-day stay. I said, no. I worked at a law firm in college and as a full-time student. I didn't have time to be sick. So I said, no, I don't have time to do this. You know, I felt great after 4 days of IV antibiotics that I never had to have before. So I said, I can go home. So anyway, they would end up making me deals where I got better within 10 days and I blew a certain amount of my lung function, I could go home. Luckily, I was able to do that for several months. My lung function, the highest I got up was 66%. And the way I did that was I would actually, at night when everyone went home, I would go to the elevators and I'd run the stairs next to the elevators from the 1st floor to the 7th floor 2 to 3 times just to try to get my lung function up. So if you guys are in the hospital and you're sick, you know, try to do whatever you can to boost that lung function, get your PFTs better, and get out. Get out of the hospital. No one wants to be sick. But yeah, so after that, I continued to get sick though. You know, every couple months I was in the hospital for IV antibiotics. And like I said, usually about 10-day stay. And going in my junior year, it was getting way worse. In September of my junior year, I ended up getting ABPA, which is allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis. And the way that happened was I was getting sick, but my cultures were clean. I grew staph and pseudomonas all the time, and those weren't showing up. But my oxygen was dropping, my heart rate was rising, I was getting fevers and chills, and weren't sure what was going on. So the way they found out was that they checked my blood work after about 2 or 3 hospitalizations and saw that my IgE level was raised. If your IgE level is too high, that's a sign that it could be ABPA, and that sucks. The way they treat ABPA, at least with me, was antifungal medication twice a day, and that was with a pill. And then they tried amphotericin inhaled antibiotics. They tried vancomycin inhaled antibiotics, colistin inhaled antibiotics, casein inhaled antibiotics, tobramycin inhaled antibiotics. Tried everything. And also I was on prednisone. Not just like, 10, 15 milligrams. 60 milligrams of prednisone every day. It was awful. My blood sugars went through the roof. I had always had a little bit impaired blood sugars, but it wasn't anything bad. Ralphie's eating. Ralphie, stop eating. Stop. I always had impaired blood sugars, but it wasn't anything too bad. But this raised my blood sugars through the roof. I'd be on insulin every morning and with every meal. And then I also had to be on a calcium channel blocker, which helps lower your heart rate. My resting heart rate was too high all the time. On top of that, I had to be on oxygen more often. I had to start using oxygen when I was sleeping because my heart rate was so high and my lungs just were so bad and I had so much inflammation in there. So that was going on for a few months. After a few months, I said, hey, I'm feeling better. Can we cut the prednisone down? I was starting to get water weight, get the moon face. They cut my prednisone in half to 30 milligrams. That was awful because within 2 days, I was sweating profusely. I had to pee, every 20 minutes at least. I'd sleep for 10 to 12 hours and was exhausted when I woke up. So my electrolytes were depleting. They put me on high potassium pills to get those back up. Didn't work out. CF, gets you every time. But it didn't work out. So I went to the hospital that night in the ER. My parents came down to visit me. I was eating dinner, and after I ate dinner, I don't know if you guys are familiar with shunting, but I got shunting. It's where your belly expands from eating so much, and then they were pushing on my lungs. So that was causing anxiety and more trouble breathing. I was freaking out. I went to the ICU, and then quickly I was intubated and being on a ventilator. So I was then in a medically induced coma for 5 days, and altogether I was in the ICU for 15 days that time. I was in the ICU several times after that, but that was the longest stay. I actually had to learn how to walk again, I guess you'd say. I had to learn to walk with a wheelchair for a week or two to get my muscles back to where they used to be, getting walking. And the worst pain in my life, which I'll do more videos on the ICU and on my pain, things like that, but the worst pain was after that ICU. It was awful after the ventilation and trying to learn how to walk. It was so bad. I'll touch on that in another video. So anyway, I finally got down to the floors. I finally got to be walking again, and it was Thanksgiving when I got off the ventilator. So it's gonna be Christmas break, and I'm gonna go home to see my family. Now at this time, keep in mind, I was still on oxygen. They said I was gonna be on oxygen full time the rest of my life. I was also gonna be on insulin the rest of my life. They said, a lot of people with CF get CF related diabetes, and I had it. And I was gonna get it no matter what, but the prednisone just sped the process up, they said. I was the stubborn patient. I said, no, I'm not. I said, I'm gonna get off oxygen, I'm gonna get off the insulin. And they said, you're in denial. They said, you have CF, this is what happens. So listen to my story, guys, because I was very adamant that that wasn't going to happen to me. So at Christmas break, I went home and I would be on the treadmill every day with oxygen in, of course. But I was using my oxygen, I was on the treadmill every day. And I came back in February and I passed the 6-minute walk test. I passed the test. I didn't have to be on oxygen during the daytime anymore, only at night. I was so happy with myself, felt so accomplished. That was something I told the doctors I wasn't gonna do, and they told me I didn't know what I was talking about. So things can happen, guys. You just have to make them happen. So after that, we weren't really happy with what was going on. The doctor said, your lung function is getting worse and worse. At this time, it was my junior year. My lung function was in the 36%, 40% maybe, and I kept getting frequent hospitalizations. So by the time my senior year was approaching, they said, you should look into a lung transplant evaluation. They sent me to St. Louis, Missouri, where a big hospital, Barnes Jewish is, and had me evaluated. I have no clue why, but I did not get even to the full evaluation. I got halfway through and they said, you're doing fine, you need to go home. This might be something that you're gonna need in the near future, but it's not right now. Thank God for that. I will touch on that in another video as well, why I was so happy. Don't get me wrong, if I need a lung transplant, I am full on accepting it. I'm not someone that says, no, I don't want it, like that. I'm perfectly okay with that, but if you don't have to have one, you do not want one. There's so many reasons why. But anyway, so moving on. I was so happy about that. I went back to my clinic, and I actually liked those lung transplant doctors so much that me and my family decided, hey, let's transfer our care up there. So I moved my care to that hospital, and the CF team was totally different from the transplant team. I was not ready for that. But anyway, that fall, which was September 2013, it was supposed to be my senior year of high school, or college, sorry. I ended up having to get out of, or not continue with college. I couldn't work anymore. I was on oxygen at night. I was still on the insulin. I was on the heart rate blocker still. I was still in the prednisone, 60 milligrams. And my doctors were kind of at a loss back in my college town. They just weren't sure what was going on and how I was getting worse so much, and I couldn't stay out of the hospital. And keep in mind, guys, at this time, I actually was going to the hospital every 2 weeks. It was actually a record. We would get home from the hospital, and I'd say, okay, let's count how many days I can stay out. I only got up to 14 days one time. It was usually 10 days, and I was back in the hospital with that lung exacerbation, or CF exacerbation. So this new hospital said, hey, we're going to fix you. We're going to figure out what's going on. So they ended up weaning me off the prednisone. That was awesome. I was very happy for that. That made me able to get off my calcium channel blocker, heart rate pill. But they did say you're going to be on insulin the rest of your life. So that was the second hospital I heard that from. So that was not good news to me, of course. I hated to be on insulin, especially someone that didn't tell people they had CF growing up, and now I'm using insulin with every meal when I go out with friends to eat. that was so rough to do. I guess I would say it's such a changed lifestyle, I guess. Anyway, so luckily I got in touch with one of the respiratory therapists back in my old hospital, Jenny, and she was always real nice to me and things, and she's actually the one that got me off the ventilator. I want to do another video about our story, but she was the one, she held my hand Thanksgiving morning and said, hey, are you ready to get off the ventilator today, and got me off of it. We were so excited. I wasn't all there, you know, I was just listening to her. I couldn't see or anything like that. And I was so excited, you know, she was excited, and the doctors are amazed. You know, CF patients don't normally come off the ventilator at that low lung function. I was at 26% lung function at that time. That's when they recommended a lung transplant evaluation. I was at 26%. That's just not something that happened. So anyway, I got in touch with Jenny. I said, hey, you know, I switched hospitals, things like that. She started coming to see me, and we actually ended up starting to date. And now we're still together after 2 years. So that's awesome. You guys might know her from my previous videos. But so yeah, I was at this new hospital, and I love the transplant doctors, like I said. The CF team just had different views than I did. You know, they didn't believe in antibiotic resistance, at least not the way most hospitals believe. And so that was a big deal to me because, you know, I dealt with resistance before, and that's something I strongly believe in. On top of that, September 2013, a doctor came in my room, the CF doctor there, and he said, I'm gonna be honest with you, unless you get a transplant within the next year or two, you're gonna die. You're not gonna see life 2 years from now. And so that would have been September 2015. That's this month. So I said, okay, you know, my girlfriend was devastated. Jenny was in tears. She was crying. I said, hey, we're gonna make it through this. Don't worry about it. We've done this before. They said I was gonna be on oxygen too. I'm not on oxygen. Just calm down. So it was hard to reassure her with only 26% lung function and going in the hospital every 2 weeks. But, you know, we did what we could. So that winter, we kept going home, and, you know, we were desperate. We want to try new things. We want to try alternative medicine, whatever could make me better, you know, before I had to get a lung transplant. It was looking like a lung transplant was going to be my near future no matter what happened. So we went to see a refluxologist. If you guys aren't familiar with that, it's someone who rubs your feet. We actually saw a poster in the mall for it. Jenny kind of made a joke about it. We looked up to see if there was any by our house, and there actually was one. So we went to see her. She's a really nice old lady, you know, rubbed my feet and everything like that. I didn't see any benefit from that. We also tried another thing called Reiki healing. That was a very interesting story. But I'm going to do a video on these alternative medicines as well and what I went through. But those didn't seem to benefit me. But what did benefit me was my refluxologist introduced me to essential oils. She was a distributor for them, and it's something I laughed off. I didn't believe in. I said, you know, I have a lung disease. I'm sorry. That's not going to work on me. And she just made me promise her she would give me 2 free bottles. And if you guys aren't familiar with essential oils, they're expensive, about 15 to 20 bucks for a vial like this big. So what she said to do was rub 2 drops on my feet and or wrists of oregano 2 to 4 times a day. So I did that. I kept going to the hospital every 2 weeks, but I did that. I slowly started to feel better, believe it or not. And I was shocked, you know, now it's like, holy crap, you know, these things might work. So that winter, we decided we were fed up with that hospital, you know, we didn't have the same views, and we were gonna go back to my other hospital I came from because I got really sick, and whenever I was getting sick at that point, I'd wake up fine, and within 5 hours, my oxygen would drop. My resting heart rate would be 150. My oxygen would be at like 88% on 5 liters, and I had to be going to the hospital quick. So we went to the hospital I was at before, which was closer to us, and I ended up slowly kind of, you know, continuing to go there because I was getting so sick and crashing so fast. And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna go full force. I ordered the diffuser on the oils. I was doing my research on them, and basically the diffuser, you know, disperses into the air so you can breathe these essential oils into your body. You can check out my video on essential oils if you want to know more about those. But anyway, I really felt better with these things. It was pretty amazing. So I started working out when I could as soon as I got out of the hospital. I tried to eat at least 3,200 calories a day and up my nutrition. And I went to the hospital again, and this was it was about February 2014. And I was doing good. I actually got my lung function up that time. It's actually about up to 32%. So I was excited about that. You know, I had stayed at the 28, 26% for so long. For the past year and a half, I had been going to the hospital every 2 weeks. Finally started seeing improvements. And then when the day I was supposed to get discharged, the night before, I was throwing up like crazy. I got fevers. Turns out I had H1N1. Me and Jenny both got H1N1. And it was so awful because I was been in the hospital for 2 weeks at that point. H1N1 made us stay for 3 more weeks, so 5 weeks total. I was on BiPAP, I was throwing up, and that's the one time out of all this stuff that happened that I actually got discouraged, and I said, you know, I don't know what else I'm gonna do. But I don't know how I did it, but Jenny kept my hopes up, my spirits up. I just kept pushing through, and luckily I did end up getting out of the hospital, about 32% lung function 5 weeks later. And it turns out that I got home. I still continued to use the oils every day. I was sleeping a lot, taking a lot of naps. I was eating every chance I could, and I was going to the gym when I could, and I started to not go back to the hospital. It was insane. So, you know, 2 weeks had passed, and we said, oh my gosh, you know. So then another week had passed, another week had passed, and we were getting so excited. And finally April came. And when April came, at this point in April, I was feeling great. I was doing so well. And at this point in April, I didn't have to be on insulin anymore. So I got off insulin finally. You know, that was something I said I was going to get off of, and the doctors didn't believe me. So insulin was gone. I was still on oxygen only at night. And my weight had gone up. And my lung function was still at 32%, but I was just doing so much better. And I went in the hospital one more time because I said I felt good, but I still felt, you know, I had a little bit of an infection. And once I got out of the hospital that April, I haven't been back since. That June, we went to Florida. My parents moved to Florida. We wanted to check out the clinic there, and we said, you know, they have a great transplant clinic down there at Tampa General Hospital. Let's go check it out. Let's see what they're like. Very intelligent CF team. Very optimistic, so positive people. Great, great team. And we were shocked. We went there. I had gained 32 pounds, guys. I was 104 pounds when I had H1N1. I dropped down to 104 pounds. They asked me to get a feeding tube. I said, look, let me gain a couple pounds this week. And if I gain a couple pounds, I won't have to get a feeding tube. And lo and behold, I had gained a couple pounds. I was trying to eat so much. I got so lucky. I avoided the feeding tube, but I was still 104 pounds. And we were shocked. I had gained 32 pounds. At this point, I was 136 pounds with 36% lung function in Florida. We were so excited. You know, the oils must have been doing something. That's the only thing that I did differently, and besides eating and working out. But you know, how did I stay healthy that long? How did I stay out of the hospital that long? I went over a year and a half going to the hospital every 2 weeks. Like, it was insane. We're still shocked. Anyway, so long story short, we ended up moving to Florida very soon after that. We've been living down here for a year now, and it's a year later, guys. I've had 2 more sinus surgeries, which I didn't even mention throughout the whole video, but that makes 7 sinus surgeries total. I had sinus surgeries all throughout college, and finally this 7th one, they went in there and drilled my frontal sinuses, which most people don't have. Most CF patients don't have issues with those, but they went in and drilled my frontal sinuses more open. It took off some of the front bone right here so they flow better. But all the other surgeries were more a little bit of widening the passages and cleaning things out. So this 7th final surgery I've had, it actually you know, opened them up even more, drilled off some bone, very intensive surgery. But this past year in Florida, I've had 2 sinus surgeries, and I had to be on antibiotics for those. But besides that, I have not been on antibiotics in 17 months now. And my lung function as of this month is 44%. And I'm still at the 130s pounds, or I'm in the 130s. It fluctuates from 130 to 136. But awesome progress, guys. I'm so excited. And I mean, it's just to think back, it's just amazing how big of a change this is. I mean, I've not been hospitalized in 17 months. And I think back on it and it just seems like a totally different life. I'm so thankful that this has happened. And I'm still pushing, guys. I'm working out. I'm not that big yet, but I'm bodybuilding. You know, I started my channel. I'm going to show some fitness things. If you guys follow me on Instagram, it's @DefyToBreathe. I do a lot of my workout stuff on there. I do a lot of my CF related stuff on there. I'm still making videos on here. And just follow my journey, guys. If you guys are excited as I am or want to know more, you know, don't hesitate to email me. I'll leave my email in the description. Comment below. If you guys have a My CF Story video, let me know about it. I'd love to see it. I love hearing CF stories. And I hope you guys can have the same progress I do. You know, I'll try to help anybody out as far as advice and what they want to know and what worked, what didn't work, what I've been through. And that's partly why I made this channel. I just want to share my experiences with you guys. I want to hope that I can somehow help you relate to someone else, or if not, give you advice that will better your health, or at least, at the very least, just motivate and inspire you guys. You know, we all need those pick-me-ups when we're down. And this is something I hope I can do to show you guys, you know, fight through it and you will get better. You know, we all have our struggles and it's how we deal with them that makes us who we are. So really fight, guys. Message me, comment below, like my video. Please share this video if you liked it. You know, let other CFers know what's possible, what's out there, and just continue to fight. And go ahead and subscribe if you like my channel, guys. I'm so glad I got to share this story. It is getting long, so I'm going to try to cut it off now. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. See you guys. Oh, and guess what? It's September 2015, remember? That's been 2 years now. No transplant, off oxygen, except for nighttime, and off insulin. So, it is possible, guys. Don't doubt yourself.